Hello, everybody. I'm Andrew Field, and here's the latest news. First, I want to say that I'm very sorry for not reporting this earlier, especially when the government reopened, but here it is. With the 2020 candidacy, there's a lot of Democrats that are already saying that they're going to run, and I may make a separate video, but so the two important candidates are Kamala Harris and Gillibrand, who announced her 2020 run on Stephen Colbert show, and that makes at least 8 Democratic candidates, and that means that it's going to be a crowded field for at least the Democrats. So it's important to see. And Trump visited the MLK Memorial, Martin Luther King Day. In Illinois, 2 state troopers died in a matter of weeks, sadly, and hopefully it doesn't keep up at that pace. Trump and Pelosi had a big debate on the State of the Union speech because Trump wanted to give the speech, and then Pelosi sent him a letter saying that he shouldn't give a speech when the government is shut down and should be postponed. Then he canceled her military plane escort to Afghanistan and her trips. And then after a while, like she was saying that she wouldn't let him say it in the House of Representatives because she has the authority being the Speaker of the House, and he would say the address at the House of Representatives. So after that, he just like was saying that he was going to try to prepare it to say somewhere else, and thankfully he backed down and said that he would wait till the government is shutdown is ended, and to give the speech. And I think that's partially why he ended up caving to end the shutdown. Um, it, but that was a good win for Pelosi and Democrats and for the country. Um, the big news is Venezuela. After Trump recognized Guaido as the current leader of Venezuela, President Maduro said for all the diplomats to leave within 72 hours, and he cut all diplomatic ties with the United States. This was big news because U.S. and other countries were seeing this new guy Guaido as the current leader when he swore in, and I think this was good because they're not democratic, and I mean it's risky, but it might have. I think it was a good decision because it's like trying to establish like democracy and like government for the people around the world. But it came with a high risk, of breaking ties with that country, and now it's big stakes. And they went to the United Nations to say both sides. And who do you think stuck up for President Maduro and authoritarianism and people having limited rights? Let's see, which country? Oh, yeah, Russia. Yeah, Russia stuck up for him. That's not surprising at all, but there it is. Another thing with Russia was that while thankfully President Putin stuck with the West, saying that North Korea shouldn't have its nuclear program, Russian businesses were sticking with North Korea. There was a report on that. Very big with this government shutdown was the Senate, which Mitch McConnell, and by the way, with the Senate and Mitch McConnell, that was really disgusting that since January 22nd, they did not hold any bills to try to reopen the government until last Thursday because McConnell wanted to stick with Trump on this government shutdown, even though it hurt so many people over the stupid wall. Um, but one was a Democratic bill and one was a Republican bill. The Republican bill having the money for the border wall, and then Democratic bill without the money for the border wall, and both of them failed in the Senate. But it was a win for Democrats also because they had more votes for their bill, and that's a Republican Senate, Republican majority. So that was a big deal that they ended up getting more votes, and that means that he was losing his like senators because since they're Republican, they were just agreeing with whatever he said, and they weren't checking and balancing him like they're supposed to, like doing their jobs, because they were all Republican, which is so stupid. But that was a big deal that they went with the Democrats more. Both didn't pass, but it was still big. And that, along with other things like flights delaying because TSA and the employees in the airport for airport security weren't getting paid. There was a lot of flight delays, and that, along with everything else, finally made Trump cave and reopen the government. for 3 weeks till the middle of February. And while he hasn't given up on the wall, he's realized, like I was saying, thankfully, that he wouldn't win this government shutdown battle. The Democrats weren't going to give him what he wanted, and it's very wrong to shut this down for a border wall. So I thank him for that he finally reopened the government, even though he was the one that shut it down. Finally, someone did something and he reopened it. I'm not saying the Democrats should have caved, but it should have been him. But thankfully he opened it at least, so we didn't have frickin' 90-day or however long government shutdown. And it was the 35 days, the longest government shutdown in U.S. history. Um, and with a lot of bad stuff going on in Europe, like there's a lot of chaos right now in Britain with the Brexit. French are like there's protests going on, and I'm just glad to see that the government is fully operational, even if it's for a short amount of time. And it's not all good news because he's still fighting for his border wall, thinking he's gonna get it. And he said if he doesn't get it in 3 weeks, because they're still gonna talk about it. Obviously, he's going to either shut down the government or more likely declare a national emergency, which means he bypasses Congress to build the wall and pay the almost $6 billion. And Democrats have come up with the approach of a smart wall with like drones and everything, and I think that's a much better idea. Because of things like I saw an article saying like tunnels could be a problem, like for the wall where they could just go around it, and it's just like people are saying medieval, and it's just not necessary. There's better ways to do it. I think the Democratic way is better. Um, Jared Kushner, there was an article that Jared Kushner was denied access, but then someone that Trump hired in the Pentagon overrode that to get him his security clearance again. And he shouldn't get high-end security clearance just because he's related to Trump. And it was another big deal because the federal workers finally got paid the 800,000 when they were missing their second paycheck. And so I'm glad about that. And the Schumer McConnell, they were meeting in private, like to try to get the government reopened, and that was good. They were doing everyone was doing everything they could afterwards, to try to get this government shut down because people were making calls and businessmen were making calls about all of the problems that it was causing. It's finally caused them to act. So good job, everybody, for that. With the Mueller investigation, the report hasn't come out yet, but a big thing happened where Mueller indicted Roger Stone, and they raided his home, and he was sent to jail. Doesn't seem like he's going to say anything about Trump, but I hope you have fun in jail, Roger. Gillette ad. There was a controversial Gillette ad about toxic masculinity, about like the sexual allegations in the Me Too movement and how men can be the best possible. And it got a lot of conservatives to burn the razors and like they did Nikes, and it's very stupid. But I think the ad did a good job. I mean, I get what the other side is saying, somewhat of like moderately of saying that it might have put men in a kind of bad picture of like showing more bad than good of men and everything like that. But I think the ad was good because it was like the first of its kind along with Nike to, bring up these issues and try to like saying that men can be better, and um, to stop things before they happen. And it was not only like sexual allegations, but also like to stop bullying. And I think they had a good message overall, even though it may not have been perfect. I think they did a good job. The sad part with like the news is that there's so much like bad stuff going on that some of the stuff can't even stay in the news long. Like Florida bank shooting where a man shot 5 people and killed them, and that did not even stay in the news that long. Um, but thankfully the government's reopened. That's the biggest plus here. And um, so yeah, for best hope for our future. And they all by the way, I have 6 subscribers now. Thank you so much, guys. Um, Please subscribe and like the video if you enjoyed. And I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Goodbye.